Welcome to class, students. Today, we'll be looking at a very important topic titled Classical Political Thought Plato, Aristotle, and Machiavelli. These are the three political classical thoughts we'll be looking at. Classical philosophical political embodied by the classical political philosophy embodied by monumental works of Plato, Aristotle, and Machiavelli address enduring questions about governance, human nature, and societal organization. These three towering intellectual figures represent distinct approaches. The ancient Greeks Plato and Aristotle developed theoretical framework centered on justice and virtue, while the Renaissance thinker Machiavelli introduced a revolutionary pragmatic perspective that prioritize political effectiveness over moral consideration. So we have the Plato 428 to 348 before common array. We also have Aristotle 384 to 322 before common array. And we have the Machiavelli 1469 to 1527. So let's look at the Plato 428 348 before common array, the philosopher of perfect forms. So the Plato is also referred to as the philosopher of perfect forms, and it comprises the republic and philosophical kings, the metaphysical foundation, the democratic skepticism, republic and philosophical kings, the metaphysical foundation, democratic skepticism. The republic and philosophical kings. Plato articulated his vision on an optimal society governed by philosopher kings, rulers whose deep understanding of truth and justice would ensure wise governance. In this idealist state, social harmony emerges through a rigorous system where citizens fulfill roles corresponding to their natural talents and capabilities, creating a meritocratic hierarchy based on wisdom rather than wealth or birth. I'll take that again. Plato articulated his vision of an optimal society governed by philosopher king rulers whose deep understanding of truth and justice would ensure wise governance. In this idealized state, social harmony emerges through a rigorous system where citizens fulfill rules corresponding to their natural talents and capabilities, creating a meritocratic hierarchy based on wisdom rather than wealth or birth, while the metaphysical foundation, that is theory of forms, central to the Plato physical philosophy lies its theory of forms, which posits that perfect immutable essences exist beyond the material world. These forms of justice and the good serve as eternal standard that should guide political decision making, suggesting that true governance requires philosophical contemplation of these transcendent ideals rather than mere practical experience. While the democratic skepticism, Plato expressed profound reservation about democratic governance, viewing it as inherently unstable and susceptible to mob rule. He argued that democracy emphasized on equality and popular participation could lead to decisions based on ignorance rather than wisdom, potentially resulting in the elevation of demo- demagogues and the marginalization of qualified leaders. We also have the Aristotle, that is 348 to 322 BCE, the systematic political science. Aristotle is referred to as a systematic political science, and it comprises founding political science, the polis as natural community, constitutional balance and mixed government, eudaimonia and political purpose. The founding political science. Aristotle revolutionized political thought by establishing a systematic empirical approach to studying governance through comparative analysis of numerous constitutions and political systems. He laid the groundwork for political science as a distinct discipline, emphasizing observation and classification over purely theoretical speculation. We have the polis as a natural community. Aristotle conceptualized the polis city-state as humanity, naturals, political environment, arguing that humans are urging that humans are inherently political beings who achieve their full potential only through civic participation. The police serves not merely as a mechanism for survival but as a community enabling moral development and human flourishing. We also have constitutional balance and mixed government. Rather than advocating for a single ideal system, Aristotle promoted constitutional arrangement that blend democratic, aristocratic, and monarchical monarchical elements. This mixed approach aims to enhance the strength of each system while mitigating their respective weaknesses, creating stable governance through institutional balance. We have the eudaimonia and political purpose. Eudaimonia and political purpose. Aristotle viewed politics as fundamentally oriented towards enabling good life. That is eudaimonia, characterized by virtue, happiness, and human excellence. Government exists not merely to maintain order, but to create conditions where citizens can cultivate virtues and achieve meaningful fulfillment through active participation in communal life. We also have the Machiavelli 1469 to 1527, the pragmatic revolutionary, and it talks about real politic and political effectiveness, the prince, the manual for power, the autonomy of politics, and state building and national unity. The real politic and political effectiveness. Machiavelli fundamentally transformed political discourse by rejecting idealistic approaches in favor of empirical analysis of how power actually operates. His methodology emphasized studying successful rulers and effective statecraft rather than constructing theoretical models of perfect governance, marking a decisive shift towards political realism. We have the Prince, the Manual for Power. In his seminal work, the Prince Machiavelli produced rulers and with practical guidance for acquiring, maintaining, and exercising power. This treatise controversially endorsed strategic ruthlessness, deception, and adaptability, urging that effective leadership sometimes requires action that would be condemned in private morality. We also have the autonomy of politics. Machiavelli's most radical contribution involves separating political analysis from ethical consideration, contending the statecraft operates according to its own logical distinct from personal morality. This perspective suggests that rulers bear special responsibility that may justify action unacceptable for ordinary citizens, prioritizing state stability and effectiveness over conventional moral standards. We also have state building and national unity. Machiavelli emphasized the critical importance of strong centralized state capable of maintaining internal order and external security. His focus on institutional strength and national cohesion reflected the fragmented political landscape of Renaissance Italy and his desire for effective governance that could unite divided territories under competent leadership. Analysis of political philosophy of Plato, of Aristotle, and the Machiavelli. The enduring influence of classical political thought stems largely from three seminal thinkers whose diverse approaches to governance, power, and political organization continue to shape contemporary political discourse. Plato, Aristotle, and Machiavelli each develop distinctive framework for understanding relationship between rulers and citizens, the purpose of government and the mechanism necessary for effective political leadership. While their historical content and fundamental assumptions differed significantly, these philosophers collectively established foundational concepts that remain central to political theory and practice. Plato, the philosopher king and the pursuit of justice, that is the architecture of ideal state. Plato's political vision centers on the conviction that governance should be entrusted to philosopher kings, individuals is whose extensive education is wisdom and virtue uniquely qualifies them to rule in pursuit of common goods. His ideal state operates through a carefully structured hierarchy where social position corresponds to natural ability and moral development. The meritocratic system places the philosophically enlightened at the apex of political authority, while citizens occupy roles determined by their inherent capabilities and potential contribution to social harmony. We also have the Aristotle, constitutional balance and the common good, the science of politics and empirical analysis. Aristotle transformed political inquiry for establishing systematic method of analyzing different governmental forms based on observation and comparison rather than abstract theorizing. theorizing. His empirical approach examined numerous constitution and political arrangements taken to understand which institutional design effectively most effectively promote human flourishing and social stability, while the primacy of the common good. Central to the Aristotelian political thought is the principle that governmental authority exists primarily to advance the collective welfare of citizens. Unlike systems that prioritize individual interests or ruling class advantage, Aristotle's framework emphasizes policies and institutions that enhance the overall happiness and well-being of political community. We have the Machiavelli, that is political realism and the logic of power, the separation of policy from conventional morality. Machiavelli's most revolutionary contribution involved distinguishing political effectiveness from personal ethical standards, arguing that successful statecraft operates according to its own logic distinct from private morality. This perspective suggests that rulers face unique responsibility and constraints that may differ justify action unacceptable in an ordinary social relationship. The doctrine of necessity and pragmatic decision making. Machiavelli emphasized that effective rulers must be not prepared to adapt their method to changing circumstances, prioritizing practical results over ideological consistency. His famous assertion that the ends justify the means reflects his belief that maintaining state stability and order sometimes requires leaders to employ strategies that would be morally questionable in other contexts. Thank you for listening.